She's the friend who'll show up with coffee or wine when you need it most. But probably wine. Good vibes are on the way. Welcome to Erin O'Malley's Feel Good Frequency.
Hi, welcome back to Erin O'Malley's Feel Good Frequency. I'm Erin. It is so great to have you here. Thank you for hanging out with me today. Many years ago, I had an experience with a sea turtle in Kona, Hawaii, where it was just such a peaceful thing, so happy, just floating along. And I thought, wow, I have got to be more like a sea turtle. But that's really where my obsession with these amazing creatures began. And so I wanted to reach out to a place that has been helping them for 40 years this year. It's incredible. They are in the Keys. Kick back and listen to all the great work that is done by Bette and those at the Turtle Hospital. Hello, Bette Zirkelbach from the Turtle Hospital in Marathon, Florida. How are you?
I'm good, Erin. Thank you for having me.
I am so excited to have you here. I absolutely love sea turtles. They are my favorite underwater creature. They're so peaceful and they just always look so zen.
Calming energy, right?
Yes, I'm summoning the calming energy of the sea turtle. I know that the Turtle Hospital started in 1986, but I have no idea how it started or what the need was that made it begin. Can you kind of take us back and explain the whole coming of the Turtle Hospital?
I can. Erin, it's an amazing story. It's one of those things like the tipping point. If you've ever read that book, it's just everything just aligned and it's really helped the wonderful world of sea turtles. Richie Moretti is the founder, still the director of the Turtle Hospital at 82 years old. And in the early 80s, he came down to the Florida Keys to retire. At 40 years old, he was a multi-millionaire. He made his money in the automobile industry with Volkswagen Repair. And he came down to just kind of relax, and he bought one of the old mom and pop motels, which used to be all throughout the Keys. And it's called the Hidden Harbor Motel. And that was in the early 80s. He came down with his partner, Tina Brown, and they were big fishermen and they loved to fish. So they would go out and do the tournaments, the fishing tournaments, and they would bring those fish back. If you've ever been to the Keys and in the restaurants, you see those pictures where the fish are as big as the people. It was before fishing regulations. So they would come back in with these fish and you'd bring them back to the dock because they would get weighed and you'd get those fabulous pictures, but the fish would die, right? So the motel had a saltwater tidal pool, which was the swimming pool for the motel. One of the first things Richie did was put in a freshwater pool. And then these fish that he and Tina would bring back, they would put in the natural salt tidal pool. And in short time, they had an aquarium of sorts of the local sea life. And the school found out about it and they asked if they could bring, classrooms of children to come learn about the local sea life. So it was the first kind of education here on the property that was already starting. And he said, of course. So they came and now it's mid-1980s. And Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were all the craze. So the kids would come and they would ask to see a sea turtle. Well, by then, sea turtles were protected. They were protected by the endangered species list as of 1973. So mid-80s, they were protected. And the state of Florida said, I can't let you have a sea turtle in your pool unless you help it. So that was essentially the first permit to help sea turtles that Richie got, and it changed his life and became his life's passion. And we're here today, and this is our 40th year, thanks to the kids that asked to see sea turtles and Richie's foresight and falling in love with sea turtles way back then.
Oh my gosh, I love that story.
Isn't that a great story?
Much.
If it weren't for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, right?
And I love the whole reason he started it too, just because he didn't want these fish to just go to waste and he wanted to find a way to help injured fish and sea life.
Right, he didn't want to kill fish just for the sport fishing. So exactly.
What a good heart he has. And obviously, he's so passionate because he's still doing it. The man went to retire and is still basically kind of working.
Right. He's not allowed to retire. There's too much need. And unfortunately, that is one thing. There is such a need for saving sea turtles. And now the Turtle Hospital was the world's first licensed veterinary hospital just for sea turtles. Now in Florida, there are 18 facilities that rehabilitate sea turtles. A lot of them are part of something bigger like an aquarium or a zoo, but that's how much need there is just in the state of Florida. And Richie was just the first, and a lot of people following suit. And again, unfortunately, such a need for it that there are that many facilities. But the Turtle Hospital is still the largest facility. And we get sea turtles transferred from not only all around Florida, but as far as ways New England and islands as well.
Oh my gosh, I wondered that because, of course, there's so many sea turtles off the coast of Florida, but I wondered if other places that really didn't have the facilities that you have would transport them down there to save them.
They do, and a lot of times we'll get in one of our Turtle Hospital ambulances, which we have 4, and we will drive up and and pick up turtles. And the thing is, when turtles come from another area of Florida, they have to be released back to that area. So we'll also transport those turtles back to other parts of Florida to release them.
So they get to go back and hang out with their friends?
They do. They're not really social animals, but the state, they're highly regulated. They're protected by state and federal laws. So a lot of what we do is a lot of documentation, and they dictate that those turtles need to go back up north to be released.
How did you get to be affiliated with the Turtle Hospital?
So I was lucky enough to grow up in a coastal state. I grew up in Delaware. I lived in North Wilmington, but spent my summers at the beach. So I just, from as long as I can remember, marine life has always, been my passion. And I studied biology in college. And then my father had a heart attack at the young age of 52. He ran a powder coating and industrial business outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So I went to help him, and he never really came back full time. So I spent a decade of my life running an industrial company. And all my free time, because my heart was in animals, I did marine mammal rescue in Brigantine, New Jersey. I did wild bird rescue. Tri-State Wild Bird Rescue is probably one of the largest bird rescue facilities in the world. And then I also raised service dogs for 7 years. I became a scuba diver. I was an avid technical shipwreck diver in the Northeast, out of New Jersey, Delaware, New York. So all my free time was spent doing these things that I did not get paid for. And at 35, I made a big life decision, left a 6-digit income to come to the Florida Keys and work for the Dolphin Research Center, where not only did we have dolphins, but we did manatee rescue. I led the manatee rescue crew for 12 years. And in 2012, I had the amazing opportunity to manage the Turtle Hospital with Richie. And it's been just an incredible experience. And one thing I want to say to young people, it's important wherever you find yourself in life, you need to take part of your energy and put it towards what your passion is, what we all know ingrained in our soul, what we're meant to do, even if you're working a job, because life has a way of happening, right?
Yes.
And I'm just so fortunate. I spent a lot of time following my passion in my free time. And then I honed the skills how to run a business. And those skills, believe it or not, helped to run a turtle hospital. And I never dreamed of, running a world-renowned turtle hospital. And I feel very grateful. But I think it's important not to get frustrated where you are in life, but make sure that every day you're putting your energy into your passion. And if you're not putting any energy in that direction, you're not going to get there. So that's the best advice I have for anybody, really, any age.
And it's never too late. That is such a great bit of information to put out there. And honestly, I feel like you should be booked to do high school graduation and commencement speeches, because that was perfectly said. It will at least give you a balance of feeling like not only are you earning a living, but you're also fueling a passion that you have, that gut feeling that you're meant for something else. And look at how great that turned out for you. How cool that it merged.
It is. And it's so important because there's some things we cannot imagine. And since I have been in the marine animal world, I have been paid to go swim with humpback whales. I mean, things that I've never, in a million years would have dreamed of. So plan, but leave room. The universe is going to support you if you follow your heart. I'm a strong believer in that, and leave room for things that are bigger than your dreams.
I also firmly believe that if you are doing something that you love and are truly passionate about, and you are working as hard as you can possibly, the money will get there. And if you have to sustain living by doing something else, like you said, as the main thing for a bit, do whatever you need to do, but don't drop your dreams.
Don't drop your dreams and be willing to put the work in, right? It takes not only that passion, but the work. So when I moved to the Keys at 35 to make $7.25 an hour from a 6-digit income, I literally worked 3 other jobs to afford me to work that nonprofit job, to pay my rent. And I never looked back, and I knew I was going to survive because I was willing to put in the work. So that's the other thing too. And I do think that then organically, like you said, the income will come, that you'll be able to support yourself if you're willing to put that work in.
Oh my gosh, I absolutely love that message so much. And your facility, how many would you say turtles at any given time are there getting help?
Say between 40 and 70.
Wow.
At a time. And it's pretty incredible. It can be overwhelming, if you let it be, because what we're seeing, Erin, is the shape of our marine ecosystems right here, right, every day. We see a lot of human impact injuries to sea turtles. And again, I make sure I get out on the water and see healthy turtles as well, because we're seeing the worst of the worst.
Right.
We do a lot of education, have an incredible platform across social media, and just to raise awareness, right? To make people aware of what is happening. You have a love for turtles, Erin. I don't know if you know that sea turtles are one of the oldest animals known to man. So they were in our oceans when dinosaurs were roaming our land, which is hard to even imagine, right?
Yes.
And when you say you look at them, I mean, they really have the history of our oceans. You look in their eyes and you're looking at a dinosaur. But why sea turtles? Why work? Why care about sea turtles? I think it's important for an animal that has survived our oceans for over 110 million years. We don't want them to go extinct on our watch because of human impact. I think it's really important. The other thing is they're what they call keystone species. What is happening to sea turtles is eventually going to happen to all of life. So it's very important to pay attention to what is happening to our sea turtles.
So can you tell us what is happening to the sea turtles that is so different maybe now than even 50 years ago?
So I'm going to start on a positive note, right? There's been a lot of conservation efforts since they were put on the endangered species list in 1973. They've actually just downlisted the green sea turtles internationally from endangered to threatened, which means they still have protections. People like us here at the Turtle Hospital that see how challenged these sea turtles still are. I'm not necessarily in agreement with that, but what that tells you that there are more turtles. So back before 1973, they ate sea turtles and farmed sea turtles in this country. So that protection means there's a lot more sea turtles out there. They look at nesting numbers. So the number of sea turtles that are coming up and laying eggs, and the number of baby sea turtles or hatchlings that are going out there. But what we also see is these animals are in trouble, right? We see a horrific disease called fibropapillomatosis, which is one of the first things that really hit Richie and Tina back in the 1980s. It's a disease where these horrific tumors get on the soft tissue of the sea turtles. It affects over 50% of the juvenile green sea turtle population around our globe in warmer climates. It's only found in and around developed islands, which tells you pretty much everything you need to know about the disease.
Yeah.
And we're seeing that a lot of cases, and not only are they externally now, but those tumors are internalizing. And with the internal tumors, we do diagnostics like CAT scans and x-rays. And if they have internal tumors, there's currently no way to treat them, and they're humanely euthanized. So we see a lot of that. We also see boat strikes and entanglements, fishing gear entanglements, synthetic, plastic ingestion. And all of those things make us aware that sea turtles are still, very much in trouble. One of the things that people don't realize is sea turtles have a temperature-dependent sex determination. And simply stated, the temperature of the sand when those eggs are incubating determine the gender of the sea turtle. So girls are hot and boys are cool. So the hot summers give way to mostly female turtles, and the cooler summers, males. And we all know it's been hot, right?
Yeah, we got a lot of ladies coming here.
A lot of ladies. So the past 5 years in Florida, the hottest summers on record. The people that study hatchlings and the eggs in these nests is mostly females. They're not seeing very little males. It's not just here in Florida, but in Australia, there was a published paper. They're seeing 99% female turtles. So again,
Whoa.
even though there's a lot of nests, a lot of hatchlings, there are a lot of challenges for these little ones going out there. The other thing that people don't think about is very important, with single-use plastics and anything that we consume, it goes out there. And baby sea turtles, they spend their first 2 years of life in the Gulf Stream. So they leave our shores and they go out into these Gulf Stream currents. The other thing that goes out into these Gulf Stream currents, unfortunately, is our trash and plastics that don't biodegrade. So post-mortem on hatchlings that they find, or what they call post-hatchlings, the little larger ones, they have had 100% of those with a gut filled with plastic.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. And it's something we don't think about right here on
No.
land, but everything is out there in the same current where these turtles are living. They're opportunistic feeders, which means they're going to eat anything that's in front of them. And these plastics break down, and it only takes a BB-sized piece of plastic to kill a baby sea turtle. So again, I'm not saying that to depress people, but we really need to think about what we're doing, with our trash, what we're doing with our packaging, and we need to do better. If you fall in love with something, you want to protect it, you're going to start thinking about, your packaging, you're going to start wanting to protect the oceans and our planet, and all that will help this species survive.
Exactly. One thing leads to another that leads to another. So I am a big proponent of that as well. When people see and hear about stories of sea turtles and sea life and they want to help. When I went to Hilton Head last year, there are signs that say, hatchlings coming this week. And then they have guarded sections of the beach because they know that the turtles are going to hatch. I think that is so awesome. Do you have places in Florida like that you know of, or do you do anything with that?
We do. So we are currently in nesting season in the state of Florida and the Florida Keys. In Florida Keys, there's an organization called Save a Turtle. They're volunteer based, and they are up before the sun, and they are walking our beaches and monitoring those nests to make sure they keep sea turtles safe. If they find a nest, they will mark that nest like what you have seen, and they'll put caution tape around. And then it's 55 days is the estimated or the average incubation period for those sea turtle eggs. Once the nest has hatched out, then 3 days after that, 72 hours after, they do what's called a nest inventory, and they'll go through to see if it was a successful hatch. And sometimes they'll find babies in there. They'll find hatchlings that what we call root bound. Those babies come to us for rehabilitation. We get some of those. Another thing that happens, this is again where humans can have a very positive impact. These turtles, the baby turtles and the mama turtles, depend on the natural light of the night sky to find their way back to the ocean. And if you're on the coastline, if you're renting, if you're in a vacation rental or live on the coast, you want to have your lights off at night this time of year. One porch light can cause a whole nest of babies, 100 turtles to go the wrong way. So it's, again, something you can do, have your lights off at night. There's also sea turtle friendly lighting. There's been a lot of research done. So there are amber lights and red lights, and you can actually go online and you can purchase sea turtle friendly light bulbs and lighting fixtures. And that's what I highly recommend. You might not ever see those sea turtles, but trust me, it's all very important. We've had calls, and one of the craziest calls I got was at 6 a.m. from my neighbor who was a cop. And he said, "You're never going to believe this, but somebody has a sea turtle on their front porch." And here they had a porch light, and that mama turtle was trying to get back to the ocean after laying her nest. And here she, ended up literally at someone's front door. And it's something you don't think about if you're not aware, if you haven't had the education that those lights affect them. It really does affect not only the baby turtles, but the mama turtles as well.
That is such great information. And I only learned that, I want to say maybe 2 years ago, when I was somewhere where there were all these signs that said, please turn off your lights at night. It's hatchling season. And so that was just eye-opening to me, because who would know that unless you are up to date and schooled on sea turtles and, their habits and things.
Oh, yeah. And again, I spoke at the Rotary Club meeting here locally with, all our top business people. And about half the room was shocked when I talked about lighting and sea turtles. And they live in the Florida Keys. So wow, we really need to do a better job of educating that as well. So, yes.
How do the sea turtles come to you? Do you get calls from people saying, I just found a sea turtle? Is it maybe fishermen? Do you have an average kind of person that gets a hold of you?
So that's a good question. We don't have enough staff to be out there, combing our oceans looking for sick sea turtles. We do have an educational program. We are a working hospital that's open to the public every day. So if you come to Florida Keys and it's Christmas, you can come visit us and meet sea turtle patients. We see over 115,000 visitors a year physically through our educational programs. And organically, what has happened with that, Erin, is people are learning what a sick sea turtle looks like. They also now know who to call if they find one. And these same visitors are the people that are out on our islands enjoying the water, right? They're out boating, fishing, diving. And 6 out of 10 of our rescue calls now come from these people that have come through our educational program and are now out on the water. So it's incredible. It's such a win-win for the sea turtles and our island community that's where a lot of our calls come from. Richie has also done an amazing job, for 40 years, just working with local charter boat fishermen and captains, educating the young people, right? That school group way back in 1980s, the mid 80s that came through, and we continue to do education with the Monroe County schools. So people grow up here and turn into our fishermen and the people out on the water, and they know who to call as well. So a lot of calls come from visitors, and then these others come from people that are local in the charter boat captains and the dive shops. They're also really good rescuers for our sea turtles, but that's where most of our calls come from.
And you have 4 ambulances, which I think is spectacular. Are you funded at all through the government? Because I know that you are an official nonprofit.
Our funding comes from people that come through our doors, right? So again, it's a win-win. It is the golden example, a shining example of ecotourism. People pay an admission fee to our hospital to come and visit and meet our patients, and that money funds the turtle care. So it's an incredible system that works.
Do you have a favorite story of a turtle that was maybe not in great shape that you were able to rehabilitate and then send back into the ocean?
Well, I'm happy to say I have a lot of those stories, but the one that has impacted me and what I do every day the most was early in my career as in sea turtle rehab. There was a very young juvenile green sea turtle. Her name was May, and she was emaciated and she had that fibropapillomatosis, and she was so debilitated that we couldn't get medication into her the normal way because her veins would collapse when we tried to go with an IV treatment. And my vet at the time, who's a long time a sea turtle vet and wrote the books on sea turtle medicine and surgery, we were in the ER with this turtle, and I just saw something you say about looking in a turtle's eyes. I just knew this turtle was still fighting for its life, as bad as it looked. And the short story is I really pushed our veterinarian, there's got to be a way. And he kept trying to do what they call cutbacks to find a vessel that he could do an IV treatment. It was not working. And he did his first interosseous catheter in a sea turtle. And what that means is it went into the bone marrow. And he got creative with the bone needle, and he went into the bone marrow. And May was in our ER for 14 days. Wow. With the interosseous catheter. And that's how she got the antibiotic. And then we were able to give her sub-Q fluids. But the short story is May made a miraculous recovery. But what it did for me, Erin, in my job is I push. And we have treatments that we do, but every turtle that comes in the door, if it makes it to our ER alive, and I train my team this way, if you think of how big the ocean is, and what are the odds that that sick turtle was found by somebody in that big ocean? So I take very seriously if that turtle comes into the ER alive, we're going to do everything possible to save that turtle.
Oh, they're so lucky to have you.
Well, it takes a team. It really takes a team. It takes a community. It takes what you're doing. What we do is important, but the much bigger reach is getting that information out to people. And again, helping them to fall in love with sea turtles. And I have something really fun to share. So we had a turtle release last week, and the turtle was named Girl Power. She was rescued on International Women's Day, and she beat the odds. She was entangled in fishing line, ingested fishing line, had those horrific tumors, and she made an incredible recovery. And she was our entrant in Tour de Turtles, which is an incredible educational journey through satellite tagging. So she got a satellite tag just last week. was released on Friday, and you can follow her. So if you go to our website at turtlehospital.org, that's ORG, or any of our social media platforms across Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok, you can find a link, and which is really fun, and you can see where girl power is headed out at sea. So that's a fun way to stay in touch with us. Yeah.
Thank you. That is the most perfect way to end. I appreciate you so much.
Awesome.
I hope you enjoyed my time with Bette. I absolutely did, learning all about the Turtle Hospital, but also just the different things that we can do to make sure that those sea creatures have better lives, live longer, healthier, and don't end up at her hospital needing to be saved because of things that we're throwing away, discarding, that end up in the ocean. One of the best things that I think that she talked about too was not giving up on your dream. If you have something that you feel passionate about, to still find a way to make that part of your life. Even if it's just something that you can do here and there by volunteering, it still will energize you. And how cool was it that she, for 10 years, ran a business that had nothing to do with the sea and animals, but then was able to take that experience to run now the Turtle Hospital in the Keys. I think that is spectacular. So thank you for all you do, Bette, and for hanging out here at the Feel Good Frequency. I am super grateful. If you know somebody who is making the world a better place, please tell me about them. ErinO'Malley'sFrequency.com is my website. Email me through that. I'll get right back to you. ErinO'Malley'sFrequency.com. Have a great week. Thanks so much. Bye.